Hello, folks.
Hi there. You can get just make
All right. Well, let's see, it's 7 o'clock and we have achieved quorum. So I think we can start. And I think, Heather, do you have to uh, turn everyone's video off and what have you, or shall I read my prepared
Yeah,
statement?
So if you're not a board member or a current applicant speaking, I am going to mute you and turn your video off until it's your turn.
So give me 30 seconds. I'm going to read something and keep going. So hello everybody again. I'm calling the meeting to order at 7 o'clock p.m. This is the Historic Districts Commission in Concord meeting on August 20th, 2020. We will be reviewing several continued public hearings. This evening we have one new public hearing scheduled and a little bit of other business at the end once those hearings are concluded. So in accordance with the Commonwealth of Mass Executive Order suspending certain provisions of open meeting law, we are conducting the meeting online. And to ensure public access, folks can access this call through telephone and video conferencing. There will be an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment following the petitioner's presentation and questions from the commission. If you have a question, please raise your hand using the participant function. And if you're calling in and can't use the platform, you can raise your hand by using #9. Alternately, Heather will unmute everybody if we're it's a small group tonight, so I think we can probably do that as well. If you're not speaking and somehow all the microphones are on, please just mute yourself to minimize background noise. I think Heather will be turning off the video both to preserve bandwidth and to sort of focus on the applicant, the current applicant. And once we've acted on a petition, you are free to leave the meeting. We won't be sharing screen except, I think, with Heather. And then once there are no more public comments, I will ask for a motion to approve the conditions or disapprove, call for a second and a roll call vote. So that's my public statement, and I'm standing by it because the governor made me say it. So I'm just going to go around and take a quick roll call for commissioners. And I'm going to go in order on my screen. Luis?
Present.
Nia, you're muted, but I see you present. Abigail?
present.
And Melinda?
Here.
All right, thank you all. We're going to get going at 7:04, and our first project up is 625 Lowell Road. Now, Heather, may I ask you to share the applicant's presentation? This is a...
So just to note, 625 Lowell, they did email us and request a continuance.
Oh.
We have not received their continuance form yet, but we do have it in writing in an email that they would like to continue just because they needed more time to get the drawing of the stairs done. So they requested a continuance, I believe, until the September 3rd meeting. Is that our next?
Okay, well, may I ask a commissioner to make a motion along those lines, please?
I move that we continue the application of 625 Lowell Road to the September 2nd meeting.
I second it.
All in favor? And I'm just going to go around. Luis?
Aye.
Nia?
Aye.
Abigail?
Aye.
Melinda?
Aye.
And I'm an aye too. Okay, thank you, folks. So that is a continued to our next meeting on the 2nd or 3rd?
The 3rd.
The 3rd.
All right, next on the docket, 325 Main Street. We had a site visit this morning with the folks there. Thank you again. That was a very nice site visit. It's nice to just get outside and actually see other human beings in person. This is a certificate of appropriateness to do a number of renovations and additions. Small additions, very, I would say, tastefully done. I'm not going to list them all. They're on the agenda. I think hello, Mark and Cheryl are here. Thank you again for hosting this morning. It's so nice to see it. We all have mouths. This is what I'm always like. How much can you read with eyes?
Yes, we can see each other. That was great to have your inputs this morning, or at least to have you observe so you can have some input now.
And thank you for asking questions. And I see Dennis Fiore is not here, but he's just joining the commission again, so he's got some questions. He and his wife actually looked at the house at one point, apparently. So.
Oh, nice.
So I guess what I would say is, are there any further clarifications from the commission? I think we went through the application in fairly substantial detail the last couple meetings. I don't have it open here. Were there any outstanding questions or issues from folks this morning? I think we've got a pretty good lay of the land. I personally think it's a very handsome and tasteful renovation. So I think.
And did everyone see the amended document with the new elevation on the website?
Yes. With the new door, that
Yeah.
one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So there were 2 points of amendment. One was to add a pedestrian door that you just referenced. And then the second was your consideration to use Marvin clad windows.
Mm-hmm. And has that been amended on the application is my question. I guess it has, yes. There it is. I'm just looking at the amendments.
We would include like the amended document in the packet.
Okay. Yeah, I think we all had the same concern you do, which is that that bamboo garden is pretty close to the south elevation. There's going to be some moisture issues there.
Yes.
So that's something to meet your non-existent new neighbors about.
Right. Yeah. I'm going to try to work with the realtor that's also the investor owner and see if there's a way we can get a little distance in airspace.
Okay. I know we had that one comment. It really is not anything significant, but Dennis Fiore had pointed out that the back of these homes was shingled
Yes.
as opposed to clapboard, just because at the time it was less expensive.
Yes.
And it's just one of those sort of quirky details, but we completely understand if it's the back of the house and barely visible, and it doesn't change the essential character of the house, I think.
Okay.
So I think we can probably take a vote on this. I'm just looking to make sure we've got everything we need. I know, Mark, you've done such a thorough application, it's a little hard to take issue with anything.
Cheryl's laughing because she lives with me.
Well, as my wife says to me, OCD can come in handy sometimes.
Yes, it can is the operative word.
I'm a member of the club. So I guess what I'll do is let me read the request and then see if there are any particular issues people have questions on. So this is to renovate the house and barn, including the demolition and reconstruction of the rear addition, which was the cold storage shed. The bulkhead, we're relocating the bulkhead. It's an addition and replacement of the garage or barn doors, I guess, technically.
Correct.
New dormers, new gutters. We saw the gutter samples today. Windows, we saw those today, samples. Doors, roofing, exterior lighting. Paint colors, I don't think there were any questions about that. Driveway layout and materials. I don't think there are any questions about that. AC condensers, utility vents, chimney caps, various hardscape and landscape improvements, and in-kind replacement of existing materials. And I see Dennis has just joined us. Welcome, Dennis.
I have. Sorry, I got lost someplace in the Zoomosphere.
Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
We're just about to have a motion made on 325 Main Street. I think you were there this morning. We reviewed that project in detail on site. Did you have any? Well, let me go around. This is what we typically do here before we open it up to public comment. Luis?
Which one is 325 again?
The one you and your
The
wife
one
almost
you looked
bought.
at.
Oh, that one. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to tip everybody off to that one. Luis, do you have any thoughts or comments?
No, I don't have any comments. I think it's a very thoughtful design and it's very consistent with the historic district.
Thank you, sir. Nia?
I love the project. I just thought of one thing, and I think you had it in there, but just remind me. screening for those AC condensers and bulkhead.
Yes, we do. We show on the layout plan to use evergreen screening, possibly
Perfect.
boxwood or something like that.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to confirm. Thank you.
Thanks, Nia. Abby?
So I just had a question. So the body of the house will be Concord Academy white, correct? And the doors will be the Hale Navy.
Correct.
Okay, and then on the barn, the entire
silver.
barn is Hale Navy, and the new kind of barn garage doors are the Concord Academy white. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, and isn't the rear door, pedestrian door, all of the trim on that building will be white?
That's right. Yeah. So the trim, yeah, it would just be a reverse image.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Abby, Melinda?
I just want to say I love the design, and I think your thoroughness has been a pleasure. You have all the details that we needed to hear, and that was great.
Great. Thank you.
And Dennis, any thoughts?
No, I'm pretty new to this, so you guys have been running around the tree on this one, but I saw nothing that I thought was a problem.
Okay, and I passed on your comment. We talked about the site about the shingles, and that wouldn't be a essential change in character if that was not shingle on the back. All right then, I would look for well, hang on a sec, sorry. Any public comment on the renovation proposed for 325 Main Street, which I read the list about earlier? And I'm looking around, I don't see any hands raised. All right, so, oh, Abby, somebody else has joined the meeting. That's so exciting.
The only issue with 7 p.m. and a Zoom meeting is this is bedtime. So my husband's putting our 18-month-old to bed, and this
That's right, he just can't vote. I just
joining us for a short period of time.
All right, so I'd look for a motion from the commission, please.
I move that we approve the application of 325 Main Street to renovate the existing house and barn, including demolition and reconstruction of the rear addition, the bulkhead relocation, addition and replacement of garage doors, new dormers, gutters, windows, doors, roofing, exterior lighting, paint colors, driveway layout and materials, AC condensers and utility vents, chimney caps, various hardscape and landscape improvements, and in-kind replacement of existing materials.
Nicely done.
I'll second that.
There's a second. All right, all in favor? I'm going to go around the horn. Luis, you made the motion. I'm assuming you say aye.
Aye.
Nia?
Aye.
Abby and company there?
Aye.
Melinda?
Aye.
And Dennis?
Aye.
And I'm an aye too, so it's a universal approval. Thank you both.
Great.
And good luck. We're eager to see how it comes out. That's going to be beautiful to see that site all
Just
re-inhabited.
a technicality, if I may, I'm sorry. Can Dennis second the motion? Is he a voting member today, or?
You know, that's a very good question.
I
No,
don't
I
think he
can't.
can.
I cannot. I
He
cannot do that.
no.
Okay, Nia, would you mind
Yeah.
being the second there?
Yeah,
Thank
I
you for
just let him
catching
get
it.
away with it.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to be truthful to the written of
Oh, no.
the letter of the law.
See, government does work sometimes. Thank you
Dennis
for
is
catching
already
that.
cheating.
Luis. Now we're all squared away.
Dennis. Oh, Dennis.
All right, Mark and Cheryl, thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing that beautiful home under renovation.
Well, great. And thank you for your consideration and your guidance. It's been really thoughtful input. We appreciate
You're
that.
We
welcome.
look forward to an appropriate garden party in 2021.
Good.
Oh,
Oh.
wow. Very nice. All
We're
right,
all
thank you,
game.
folks. And a great application, I must say
Yeah.
again. Thank you. All right. That was 325 Main Street. Now we're moving slightly up the street or down the street to 255 Main Street. We had a site visit there this morning. This is a certificate of appropriateness to renovate the existing building and construct an addition, replacing a door with a window, various door repair/replacements, relocate and replacement of windows, changes to the deck, new exterior lighting and gutters, fencing, various hardscape and landscape improvements, and in-kind replacement of existing materials. So thank you again for hosting us this morning. I see our Nishadok Architects is here, and I think the homeowners.
Hopefully I'm on.
There
Yes.
you are. We can
Okay.
hear you but not see you. And that's okay.
Yeah, no, for some reason I can't get in there, but at least you can hear.
Okay.
And I think Hillary Holdsworth, who's also the
Oh, there's Hillary.
landscape.
Yep. Hillary, you're muted, but that's okay.
Oh, there I am.
Oh, there you are.
I do exist. Well,
All
saw
right.
me
Thank you
today.
again for
Yeah.
for hosting us this morning. I think, much like the last applicant, I think we had a pretty thorough review. We've got good drawings. There were really no questions. We had a little bit of a discussion about the pathways and the gates, which I think was more of a kind of conversation about something that's changed over time. So why don't we go around and if you would, I don't know that the commission needs to see any kind of presentation on this. I
Okay.
think why don't we go around and
Can I
John,
make
did
just
you-
can I
Yeah, go
just
ahead,
make
please.
one comment,
Mhm.
which is the one thing that we were going to change on the front of the house that is in the application is changing that door to nowhere to a window.
Right.
There we go.
We've actually, can you hear me?
Yes.
We've reconsidered that, to be honest with you, after some thought and actually keeping true to the original house. And we're going to keep that.
Okay.
So
Just
we're
keeping
actually
it
not
as a door.
changing anything to the front.
Great. Great.
Yeah. Well, we didn't quite realize that there's actually some significance to that door. And I'd prefer not to have a guilty conscience looking at it every day. And I think it actually is kind of cool having a door that doesn't go anywhere. So
Good metaphor. Good,
Yeah.
for party guests.
there you go. Exactly. So
Well,
so
thank you,
that's
John.
the only I just wanted to make sure that
Okay.
I mean that's a definite for us.
Okay. Well, we can, in the approval, we'll just amend
Yeah.
the list of conditions there. Why don't I go around and see if there were questions from commissioners? That might be the quickest way to do this. Luis, do you have any further questions?
I don't have any questions. I just will make the comment that it's a very thoughtful arrangement of trying to simplify something that was probably much simpler in a much earlier age and that subsequently was made busy. And that's what the architect has done. On the issue of the door, I entirely agree that that door belongs there because that's a very important historical reference, even if it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So I agree wholeheartedly with the current design and with keeping the door as it is.
All right. Thank you, Luis. Abby, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, so I have kind of two concerns. One is the, not the fencing along the front of the property, but the fencing along the sides. So one of the things that our guidelines stipulates is that fencing, so the guidelines say that fencing should not exceed 5 feet. Occasionally we permit 6 feet is what the guidelines say. We have on occasion permitted a taller fence, particularly we've seen it on Main Street properties that, hold on, Livy, that abut the commuter rail line. So we've allowed a taller, more solid fence when they're in close proximity to that. So I have concerns about the 7-foot height, even though it's kind of rear to the property. It is visible from Main Street. That's not something that we would typically approve, even though it's open at the top. So I have a concern about that. The only other thing that I have a concern about is some of the hardscape in the front of the house, in the pathways. Most of the homes on Main Street, hold on though. Daddy's in Cora's room, sorry. The pathways that we mainly see in the Main Street district to the front of homes are a direct path, a single direct path that leads from an opening in a front gate to the front door. We don't typically see as formal of an arrangement as you've proposed. So those are the only two things that kind of stood out to me as potential areas of concern, certainly the height of the fence would be a departure from our guidelines and our kind of norms of approval. So those are the two things that kind of stuck out to me. And Nia's our resident landscape expert, so she could probably speak to the hardscape issues. I don't know if she has similar concerns, but those are my abbreviated comments due to toddler attendance.
Okay, thank you, Abby. Why don't we go to Nia next? Any thoughts, Nia?
Yes, certainly. I agree with Abby on the fence issue. As I recall, we've only ever approved a taller fence along, directly along the rail line. The proposed 7-foot fence is very visible from Thoreau. And I know that is not in the district, but it is a public way. And I think and along the sides, there was a phrase, and I can't bring it to mind, that it's very unneighborly. It's very anti your neighbors to put up that high a fence. And I am very concerned about precedent for something like that, because we've had a ton of fences go up in town. Obviously, this is a very large property, but we're seeing lots of fences go up on little tiny properties. And I think once we go down the rabbit hole of approving a 7-foot fence here, we're going to get a whole bunch of people saying, well, we want a 7-foot fence. So I would be very strongly against that. I agree with Abby that the hardscape in front is probably a lot dressier than we would normally see, and would be interested in seeing what some of the other commissioners thought about it. But I'm very happy with all the changes to the house being preserved as much as it is. That's all terrific. So I consider these other items to be very minor in the whole scheme of the project.
Okay, thank you. Melinda, any thoughts?
So I thought that you were moving the fence to be the gate to the fence to be right in front of the house. Am I
It
wrong?
is. It
Yes,
is.
we are.
That was part of what you discussed today. I agree. We don't like tall fences. It would be nice if you would take that down a little. I don't have a problem with the hardscape that you suggested that you change in front of the house. I think the wandering path all over the place is a little busy, and I think it'll be nicer with what you've described.
All right, thank you. Dennis, any thoughts? You have to unmute yourself. Dennis, you're muted. There you go.
Is that it? Am I better now?
Now you're here.
I have concerns about the hardscape, and I just want to understand it better because I'm sort of new. And maybe John can answer this, and that is that why are you changing the driveway and putting in front of the garage this sort of square with granite around it and then some kind of material in the middle? I think you're muted, John.
I think it's asphalt in the middle, Dennis.
I can have Hillary answer that. I think the fundamental idea, to be honest with you, is that there's a lot of blacktop there, and we thought that it would look nicer if there was some granite there rather than the blacktop.
That's
my whole thinking about.
Can everybody hear me?
Oops,
Yes,
sorry.
you can.
You're good.
Yeah. Well, hang on just a sec. Dennis, did you have any other comments, or do you want to start this conversation and then come back?
Well, and maybe I should just lay out my overall concerns with the property. This is a very important historic house, and I'm so glad, John, that you purchased this. It's great to have some wonderful owners. But I think we need to really look at historic precedents when we pass on what this should look like. And I believe that a lot of research has been done over a period of time. One of the neighbors came up to me and said that one of the last owners, the wandering path was actually based on historic precedents, and that she had done a lot of research on it. So a lot of work has gone into this over time. And then doing a little research this afternoon, depending on what period we look at this house to 1840 or so, are we looking at it in terms of how we want to represent it? That wandering path is actually quite usual. And that the concept that's presented, I think, is a little too fancy for the house. It should be much, much simpler. One of the schemes, I'll just throw this out, which you probably think is a little strange, and that is that the drive, I would think the whole drive would be much better if it were covered in chipped stone or dust covered, so you don't see as much of the pavement as you do. John, I look at your parents' house in Barrett's Mill. That's the way they did the drive there, and I think it really softens it. I would even say, which sounds radical, that any paths that go to the door might be done, it sounds strange, in macadam, and then dust put over them. Because in the 19th century, the pathways were not brick. They were, and you don't want what they actually were, which was kind of muddy dirt, which is not something you'd want. But they were a very natural surface. So I think the pea stone that is there now is trying to represent that. I think pea stone's very loose. It's not, it may not be the best thing. But I think there needs to be more work put into researching the way that would look. And I think the current scheme is frankly too fancy for the house. And I might not be as critical if it weren't such an important property, and if so much research had been done over time and so much careful work put into restoring that house and making sure it was correct. So I just like to see more work in that area.
All right, so why don't we now give the landscape architect the floor just to talk about things a little bit. Would that be all right?
Sure.
All right, thank you. Welcome.
So, thank you, and thank you, Dennis. So we spoke, Lisa and John and I spoke after we met this morning about the front walkway and with Marlo, and talked about it, and there's a neighbor that's 2 doors down who has a rectilinear bluestone stepping stone path from the front door around the side yard. And John seemed to like that. Marlo seemed to like that. It seems like a precedent, and that could be something we could consider. I'm not obsessively wedded to the scheme that we came up with for the front walkway necessarily. The walkway that's there now is not pea stone. That's basically just road pack. And so that if it were pea stone, that would be something else altogether, and we could consider that too, although there's a little resistance to that idea, only because it feels when you're walking on it a bit like quicksand. The driveway idea, I'm always telling people to get rid of all their asphalt and put in pea stone driveways, or chip seal, which is basically pea stone rolled into hot asphalt. John and Marlo and I have not even had a chance to discuss that. What we thought was a good idea was to remove as much asphalt as we could and replace it with antique cobblestone, at least in a border. But, I mean, we could do the whole thing in cobblestone, although that would be prohibitively expensive. And we can talk about the idea of a pea stone driveway, too, at some point. But the point is taken that certainly asphalt has no historical precedent. So that's always a bad choice. But I don't know if that helps answer the question of the front walkway much at all. We have photographs. Go ahead, Lisa.
Oh, I was going to say, Heather, am I able to share content? Because I have a photograph that we took of the house down the street that's showing there's a brick walk. It's the yellow house on the corner on the same side of the street going towards Elm Street. And it has a little bit of a formal front walk, but then to the sides where there are paths going from either side, they're just bluestone set into the grass, essentially. I don't know, am I allowed to show?
You can go ahead and screen share if it lets you. Hopefully it will, because I don't know how to allow it.
Zoom, let's see, screen share, broadcast, start broadcast. I haven't done this before. Let's see.
There it is.
Okay, let me see if I don't know, can I get, this is a little tricky. Hold on one second. I got to figure out how to share.
Are you on two screens?
No, I'm on a single screen, but I'm trying to, can you see the pictures now?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I see
Yep.
the
Okay.
I
So
see it right there. Yeah.
yeah, so this is the more kind of path that wanders around the house. And it has a little bit more of the formal brick path at the front, but not nearly as formal, having all of the brick happening all around the house on the different paths that there are.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I just want to. Were you through there? I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah. No, I was just, this was one of the thoughts that we were talking about after the meeting this morning, just because there had been some comments about the amount of brick and hardscape at the front there.
Gotcha. Well, I'm just going to back us up a moment here if I could. So I think what I'm hearing from the group is that there's really no objection to anything on the buildings, right? The door, window, mostly door, window, deck, exterior lighting, gutter. So the comments are focusing on the fence and the hardscape. Am I correct there? I think I generally.
I had one question, and remember,
Yeah.
I'm sort of behind, so you may have already answered this.
Mm-hmm.
I went online today, and for some reason I couldn't find the plans, but anyway, I did find the photographs of the house and proposed. And there were black windows that are painted black around. Are those part of the scheme at this point?
Yes.
Okay.
Where is that again?
The current house has the black windows and sashes and black storm windows also currently on them. And so what we were going to do is which we've done in other houses on Main Street, is use the Marvin windows, but use the clad sash piece, but have them installed in a wood frame so that they can be dressed and trimmed more typically as a wood framed unit. So it won't look like a clad frame with just window trim around it. It'll actually be a wood frame that has the trim attached to the frame.
Thanks. Answers
sense?
my question. Thanks.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'm just going to back us up a second, take one thing at a time. So the fence, the issue is this: it drops. It's 7 feet in the back. It drops to 6 and then 4, and the commission is struggling with the 7 foot,
Yeah.
which I think is the topper.
And so the fence in the back should be 6 feet. Is that what I've been told?
I think that would be meet with no objection.
Well, then let's make it 6 feet.
Wasn't it 7 down the sides as well?
No, what I'm saying is that let's go with your suggestion of having it be 6 feet. In other words, I don't need it to be set. I mean, if this is an issue, I don't want to make it an issue.
Okay. I mean, the only thing I would say is that does change the appearance in the design a little bit, because then I think that's something you all, the design.
I mean, I'll figure some planting out around it. I don't know.
Okay.
It's just not.
Yes.
It's a fence.
Okay. And then the hardscape, and really the hardscape issues are the front path and the driveway. And I personally, I'll speak for myself as the chair. The driveway seems a pretty straightforward. It's a little bit of formality there back by the garage. So I don't think that's a big deal. And the pathways, is it too fancy for the house? It's a big house, and it's a nice house on Main Street. I could frankly go either way. So I guess I'd look to the design team to see if you have a strong response to the commission's questions about that.
Well, I would mean, personally, I'd prefer to have the brick center entry And if it was felt that the people wanted it to soften that front up, I was thinking of that stone that was an option, or an idea would be to do what the neighbors did with that sort of whatever that stone is, those stepping stones around the corner, just to, I mean, I think it certainly softens it. It certainly takes away a lot of the hardscape, if that was of concern.
Okay.
Can I mention something?
Yes, please do.
Just a quick comment. So it's also important to remember, and it's not always easy to see that in the plan. And Marlo and John and I have yet to talk a lot about the planting at this point. But remember, whether bluestones or whatever, is
you're dropping out a little bit. Sorry, you dropped out a little bit there.
Oh shoot! Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you now.
Okay. Whatever the front walkway turns out to be, it will not be just surrounded by grass or lawn. The areas closer to the house will be planting beds. So there'll be ground covers, perennials, shrubs. So it's not going to be as almost modern as it seems now, having just a pathway that goes through grass. So that will help soften it quite a lot too. If that helps sort of illustrate the thought process so far.
Okay. Well, I think I want to kind of kick it back to the commission members. Luis?
And if I can make a comment, I agree with Dennis about the surfaces and the hardscape and so forth. And even before I get into that, I agree that the driveway should not be asphalt. But in terms of the other hardscapes, I think that there's something to be considered, which is that the current proposal, although it is very evolved and sophisticated, it simply represents the growth of the house as a historic structure through the years. This house doesn't have the same significance it had in the 1800s or the 1860s when the Alcotts lived there and so forth. This house now is a very illustrious house in a very important part of Concord, and therefore, improving those pathways, it's almost could be considered as organic growth. You see, it's just making the pathways consistent with the magnitude and the importance of the house. And that house is important not in 1860, but in 2020. And that's where I see that although I would like to freeze the design that existed in 1860, I don't think that that would provide a proper historical reference, because it would be a little incongruent with the magnitude and the importance and we have to say the elegance of the main structure, which has been so carefully preserved. So I'm not trying to say that I'm opposed to what Dennis is saying, because I entirely agree with it. But on the other hand, I want to focus attention on an alternative interpretation of what should we pursue as a Historic Districts Commission in terms of providing a historical reference, which in this case, I think that either of the, keeping the old design or putting a new design would probably fulfill very adequately. Thank you.
Just one thing to note, the current driveway, sorry my dogs, the current driveway is asphalt, so we can't require them to change it from asphalt to something else.
Okay.
Thank you.
I would also point out that in the landscape design in the back, I mean, the reality is the plan is consistent. It's a theme around the property. And there are some inset, it looks like there are some bluestone pavers in a couple of locations. So it wouldn't be without precedence, even in this design, to use that in the front as well. And I appreciate Luis's comments, because I think you're right that that on the one hand, this is an artifact that's being beautifully preserved. On the other hand, it's a 21st century house now. So let me just go around one more time and see if we've got any additional thoughts. So Abby, do you have any updated thoughts since our discussion here?
No, I mean, I think that's a resolution to the fence issue. If the height of the fence is dropped, I think there's enough question about the hardscape in front that I'd like to see an alternative design for the front walkways. Just because we've had discussion about bluestone pavers or what have you, so it seems as though there's people are open to an alternative design there. So I'd like to see an alternative design presented, but I don't have any issue with the changes being made to the home itself.
Okay, Melinda, any new thoughts?
I agree. Now that we've bandied about a whole lot of new ideas in the front, I think that it makes sense to come back with something that you like more, perhaps, and everything else I think looks fine.
And Nia?
Yep, I'll go along with, you know, a new option. I think possibly the brick right in front of the entranceway and something softer to the side might be a good compromise. And as you said, Peter, you know, the design does have bluestone elsewhere, but to Abby's point, it's a very important spot in the property, and it needs to be sure we know what we're approving. And regarding the driveway, I, of course, would love to see chip seal, but I appreciate what Heather said, that it's, you know, the existing is what the existing is. So we can only encourage.
Dennis, any updated thoughts? Thank you, Nia.
Well, I guess my updated thought after the conversation is, of course, I agree. I'd like to see another plan for it, but I could see a compromise, which would be a straightforward brick walk up to the door. Nothing terribly fancy, not necessarily edged with granite, but something that would be very low key. And then maintaining, I don't like the bluestone pads. I think they're very 20th century. They're very contemporary. So you know, it's the sort of thing I would see in Canantum, frankly, than on Main Street. I think they're much more modern. I would rather see some form of pea stone or stone in the side paths, which I think would work very well. But I can understand why they'd want a brick walk up the front. I think that's probably a good solution.
So let me see, Hillary, may I ask you a question as the landscape designer? If we approve most of the application and ask you to come back with, or I should ask John, the homeowner, come back with a different design for or a couple of options for the pathways, would that be amenable to you?
Certainly for me.
Yeah.
John?
Yeah, no, let's try to get a good design. Let's, you know.
Okay. But I think you're not hearing objections to anything else, really.
Yeah, no, and this is, I understand it. So,
okay.
So we'll try to work to get something here that people feel comfortable with.
All right. So Heather, I'm going to suggest when someone makes a motion that can we continue that portion of the application to the, I guess when the applicant is ready, we could try the next meeting.
It has to be to a specific meeting date.
Okay.
But yes, if you wanted to approve the architectural changes to the house and just continue and all the other changes and just continue the landscaping to a specific meeting, you can.
So does that give you folks, our next meeting is in two weeks, I guess, right?
This is a question for Hillary.
Yeah, so.
I can answer that. I mean, I already amended the plan today to show the bluestone steppers. It's a simple matter to give you a couple of options between that and a pea stone walkway, and to certainly change the driveway if John's amenable to that idea too. That can be ready for a meeting tomorrow.
Hillary and I can talk about that, but Hillary, if you can execute that between now and the next meeting, then we should just do it.
For sure.
Okay, I think it has to be submitted how many days before the meeting, Heather? Ideally.
I mean, if you can get it to us a couple days before the meeting, just so the commission has time to look at it beforehand, that's always helpful. And just another note, if there's no rush for the architectural changes and everything else, it's easier to just keep the application all together. But we understand, like, if there is some sort of deadline to get moving on.
No, we can do it all together.
Okay. Terrific.
It's just cleaner.
Sorry, when is the next meeting?
September 3rd,
Yes, September 3rd.
Thursday.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
It's
Typically, we
Okay.
hold off on doing any construction documents or anything until we have approval from you guys. But what I'm hearing is that the building portion, we can go ahead with working on the drawings and getting that going if we want to.
I think you would proceed at risk, but you're hearing no objections. So that's my informal sense. So yes, and I think, what was I just lost my train of thought. It derailed at the station. I had something to say, but you know what? I haven't had dinner yet, so there you go. All right, so I think I've got to open it up to public comment. So is there any public comment on the design at 255 Main Street from the gallery? And I see one raised hand, Mr. Leonard. Would you identify
Chairman.
yourself for the record, please, sir?
Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, thank you. My name is Dutch Leonard. I live at 267 Main Street. So I am the next house up the street toward Elm Street, abutters of our new neighbors. I just wanted to say we're happy to have our new neighbors in the community, and we were very pleased that they came and talked with us about what they had in mind. And we liked our old neighbors too, and we've watched this house for a long time become more historic. We were there when Susan Larson originally revamped the house considerably. And we think what John and Marla are doing is very much consistent with the historical traditions here, and we're very pleased to have them in the neighborhood and have no objections and only compliments for the project.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment, or is it tumbleweeds? I'm just looking here. I don't see any other. All right, so then I think I'll look for a motion to continue from the commission.
I move that we continue the application for 255 Main Street to our next meeting on September 3rd.
And can I get a second on that? And
Second.
thank you. And everyone is a voting member except Dennis, but you can vote anyway, Dennis. So all in favor, Luis?
It doesn't matter.
Aye.
Abby?
Aye.
Melinda?
Aye.
Nia?
Aye.
And Dennis, just for the record, man.
Aye.
And I'm an I too, so thank you all. And it's a beautiful application. Thank you for being so thorough and for being so willing to have us all tromp around your site this morning.
Oh, well, it's my pleasure.
All right, so we'll see you in a couple weeks, and I have no need for another site visit. I think this is purely, you'll be first on the docket, and we'll.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you, folks.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
All right, moving right along, we've got, that was our last continuance. Am I correct? Because 625 Lowell is a continuance, right?
Yep.
All right, so our new public hearing, if the only one on the docket right now is 500 Lexington Road. This is Ward and Sarah Zimmerman looking for a certificate of appropriateness to replace siding, windows, to install some new windows, add a window crown head casing and pediment over the front door, paint some siding, shutters, doors, and trim. Say that 5 times fast. So welcome, Ward. And I think we've had, Heather, correct me if I'm wrong, has the application been updated with this is where we had a change to the front door, correct?
Yeah, so the applicant is, I believe, changing, is it the windows, right? The brand of windows.
Yeah.
And then also a change to the front door. Instead of a pediment, he may be submitting a future application instead to do a portico. So I think the applicant may want to discuss that and then not have the pediment approved as part of this application and just kind of preliminary discuss the portico that he'll submit another application for.
Okay, does that make sense to the commission, by the way? So the application as is, you can see on the website on the material, and the applicant is considering doing a portico, but it sounds like that will be a future application, if I'm hearing that correctly. So Ward, can I give you the floor?
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Welcome.
So I do not have an architect or a landscape designer. It's just my wife and I, and she's at work, so it's just me. So we moved into the house 2 years ago. It is on a wonderful historic street, but it is by no means a historic house. It was built in 1973 and not updated by any means until we bought the house 2 years ago. We put a new roof on it when we first moved in, and then I was deployed to Iraq for a year, came back a few months ago, and now we're to the next step, which is replacing the crumbling masonite siding and replacing the rotting windows. So it really is just a fixer-up project on a house that needs some love. When we purchased the house, we were actually, for perspective, we were in a bidding war with a developer whose plans was to tear it down and build a new house. So again, this is not really a historical house. We love it, but as far as historical significance, there's no way to trace it back to 1860 or such. So that's where we are.
Okay.
Again, replacing the windows, replacing the siding, adding some window crowns and maybe some sort of ram's head pediment at the moment. And then, as Heather and Peter mentioned, potentially down the road, putting on some sort of portico. But again, we've signed with no architects or contractors or construction workers or anything. So that's down the road.
Okay.
So that's where we are.
And I would just point out that the great bulk of this application is effectively a replacement in kind, other than color changes. You know, you're residing and replacing. So that typically isn't even something we would. I mean, we can review it, but if it's sort of the same thing, then it's non-controversial.
It is a change in material, though.
That's true.
Right. Yes, we had masonite, which, as I mentioned, is crumbling away. Mm-hmm. And we're actually trying to, in our mind, upgrade it to cedar. So try to make
All
it
right.
a little
Well,
nicer.
thank you, Ward. Let me go around and see if we have comments from the commissioners. Luis, you're first on my Hollywood Squares.
First of all, we want to thank you for your service. The next is the fact that you and I are in the same boat because we are very close to each other, and my house was built in 1980.
There we
So
go.
yours is much older than mine.
A little more historical, yeah.
But you see, we still have the duty to maintain the historic references. Right. And I think that most of what you're doing is replacing in kind, and that probably there's not much input that we can provide as such. But keeping in perspective the fact that you seem to have bigger and better things for this house, which certainly has the potential of being a very good historical reference, then what I would suggest is that this commission makes a site visit, at which point there will be a lot of interaction and impressions about what the house could be. And you probably may come out much more informed about what actually would be a good strategy to pursue in the house, not only on the immediate issue of replacing doors and windows, but also in the long run. So that would be my suggestion to the commission.
Well, thank you. Mr. Chair, may I
sure.
Add to that? So that would be wonderful, and I would completely welcome a visit by the commission. I just I refinanced our house through a VA loan a few weeks ago, and one of the stipulations of a VA loan is you can't have any paint chips on your house. They've given a one-time waiver because of COVID, so I have a grace period, but I promised and put up some honor money to get the paint chips off, or to get the project moving as fast as possible, at least with the siding and the windows, etc. That's just, again, that's a personal kind of deadline that I have. It of course doesn't affect the commission, but it's just something that I'm working with as.
Okay. Well, I think we typically do not want to hinder homeowners from, I mean, especially if it's around finances, that's really not something we want to get in the middle of. But so let me just continue and get comments from folks, and then we'll come back if we could, Ward. Abby, any thoughts?
I don't have any objection to any of the changes. And I think if you want to return with an application for a portico or what have you, that's a great time to do a site visit. But for these changes, I have zero objection.
Okay, thank you. Melinda?
I agree. I think it's fine.
Dennis?
I think it looks great. I thank you for saving us from having to deal with another tear down. Those are so popular in the community.
Right.
And Nia?
I think it's great that you're going to be making improvements in the house. My only thing I wanted to ask about was the shutters, and this is something that we always have a pet peeve about, and just would like you to encourage, if you are going to replace the existing shutters, if you could try to find shutters that are as close to authentic looking actual working shutters as possible. It may be out of your price range, but just ask you at least to consider it.
Thank you, and I'm glad you brought that up. So currently they are aluminum screw on the wall shutters, and they look pretty bad. One of my plans, or my wife and I were discussing actually not putting the shutters back on and trying to keep it a cleaner look once we paint the house, paint the cedar. So thank you for bringing that up. So yes, actually, could I amend my proposal to not put the shutters back on?
Absolutely.
Sounds good.
Now Luis is going to have a comment.
I just want to mention that removing the shutters would have a fine precedent in your neighbor down the road, which is exactly the same thing. Mine, unfortunately, were plastic, not even aluminum.
Right.
So I had even more reasons to get rid of them. And actually the house looks much nicer without the shutters. just a side comment.
At least you can melt aluminum down and sell the scrap. All right, so I think we've heard from commissioners. And Luis, let me ask, are you willing to put off your request for a site visit if the consensus
absolutely.
is...
You see, I believe that the site visit, it's a sort of a two-way street, and it seems that we have an applicant that is very much willing to make things that are much better than they are right now. So I'm willing to provide as much feedback as we can. But on the other hand, I don't have any objections to any of the proposed changes.
So it sounds like if you're ever walking your dogs down that way and Ward lets you onto his property, you could opine on you bring a nice gift. Bring a gift.
It will be a full-blown site visit advice of the record.
You might want to pretend you're not home, Ward.
Oh, there we go.
It will take a long, long time.
All right, I've got to open this up to public comment.
Sorry,
Yes,
I just want to clarify. Would you like the commission to approve the pediment, like everything as submitted with the front pediment over the front door? And then if in the future you change your mind on the pediment, you'll submit an application for the portico?
Absolutely, please.
Okay, thank you, Heather. I'm just going to look around the very tiny gallery. Is there any public comment on the changes to 500 Lexington Road? I see absolutely nothing. So I'd look for a motion from the commission.
I move that we approve the application for 255 Main Street.
This is 500 Lexington
Excuse
Road.
me.
Pardon me.
Don't mind me.
Okay. It's late.
Approve the application for 500 Lexington Road to replace siding, replace windows, install 3 new windows, add window crown casings and pediment over the front door, paint siding, doors, and trim, with the understanding that the shutters in the application be removed from the application as submitted.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second, and I'm just looking through the package. We have all the paint chips and everything else. So all in favor, and I'm going to go around. Luis?
Aye.
Abby?
Aye.
Nia?
Aye.
Dennis?
Aye.
Melinda?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. So Ward, you're good to go.
Hey, thank you all very much. Have a
Good
wonderful
luck.
evening.
Good luck.
We'll look forward to the renovation.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, that was our last hearing. There are no new ones, Heather? No surprises at the last minute there?
Nope, that was it for
Okay.
our public
So we
hearing.
have other business. We have the the expanding the districts, I don't know, I don't see anybody. Well, I see Jane. Hello, Jane. And I see one other person. Are we talking about that tonight in any particular way?
I did mail, for Jenny Dugan Road, I did mail the letters to everyone with the survey information. So that all got mailed on, what day did it go in? Tuesday. So that's all been mailed out. So hopefully we'll start getting responses on the survey soon. I did tell Matt Anderson Miller that he probably did not need to attend tonight's meeting, just because the only update is really that we mailed
right at 9 o'clock, and then he gets to talk for 2 minutes.
Yeah. So other than that, I don't know if people had comments on it, or we just wait for survey responses and go from there.
Why don't we do that? I think, Dennis, do you know what we're talking about here?
Barely.
Okay,
Somewhat.
so Jenny Dugan is a street up by White Pond. It's a neighborhood of deck houses, and they'd like to form a district. So we have to go through.
Wonderful idea.
Yeah, so we're going through the process. There are how many houses, Heather? Remind me, about 20?
21.
21 houses. And it sounds like the vast majority are happy with it. And so we're getting the ball rolling for next town meeting, not this town meeting, next town meeting. And then we had 21 Thoreau Street is asking to be added to the Main Street district. And I think a similar, it's a what's the right word? It's on the edge of the district. So the district is like an amoeba reaching out.
Yeah, and that one we don't need to do any public outreach because the homeowner is requesting to be added.
But that has to be voted at town meeting, does it not?
Right, we'd still need to submit a warrant, or he'll still need to hold a public hearing on it, all that. Jenny Dugan, we will need to have a discussion about how we're going to handle the design guidelines. And I don't know if I forwarded the design guidelines for the Lincoln Historic District. I haven't had a chance to look at them yet. Did I forward those to everyone?
I don't know, or maybe just post them. Well, maybe they shouldn't get posted.
Okay, I will try to forward those tonight. So everyone can start looking at them, just because we have to start thinking about how we're going to handle the design guidelines, whether it's an addendum to the design guidelines specific to the Jenny Dugan Road district, or we just amend our current guidelines to kind of include it throughout. So that's a discussion we'll need to have.
Okay. And Heather told me today, and I think I only told Dennis, that Article 48, the one that was looking at appointments to this commission, was withdrawn. The town, the moderator and town manager, because you all know town meeting is going to be this kind of wild exercise this year. They asked that as much business that could be deferred, please defer it and withdraw your articles. So it's a way of simplifying town meeting. Correct, Jane?
It was postponed.
Postponed.
So I don't know.
Wild might not be the exact.
All right.
Of our.
Oh, let's go for wild.
But maybe compact. And what we won't be having is articles are not going to be brought to the floor verbally.
Aha.
So, in other words, all of the presentations will be written ahead of time so that people can read them. So it'll be the folks who come to town meeting and who want to speak from the floor are the only points of discussion.
Got you. But we're on plein air, right? We're outdoors. This is like
We are outdoors, yes.
This is going to be very exciting. Frankly.
Doug Whitefields, come ready.
I'm bringing my watercolor kit.
There we go.
Okay. So that anything else, Jane? By the way, I really have not. I missed most of the chair's breakfast this week, so I came in the middle of what Carmen was saying. I mean, it sounds like there's really nothing for this commission to do. Is there anything else about town meeting?
Well, you could come. That would be important.
Right. Please attend town meeting.
Please attend, and I would say, make sure you get there early enough to, to accommodate your access, because it's going to be a limited, things are going to be spatially defined. So
I'm telling you, it's going to be exciting.
It is. Excited. While there's a 50-person limit on gatherings, but municipal town meetings in particular are not included in that, so we are not limited to 50. But obviously, there's going to be a limit to the number of bodies we can accommodate with some level of social distancing. Bring your masks, bring water, and let's make this thing happen really, really well.
I think there's no going back. We're going to be doing this in the future. It's going to be too much. It's going to be too nice.
I'm outdoors all the time, anytime.
What's that?
I said I always opt for outdoors if possible. So too bad we can't
right.
put dogs.
Well,
Yes.
I think
Peter,
Abby, yes.
or Jane, I'm just curious. Again, I'm getting my feet wet again on this whole thing, but I know there's a lot of concern about the rezoning of Thoreau Street in the community.
Yep.
And how does this request to change this house fit into all that, and how does this all come together? Is this a move by this individual to make sure they're not included in some new zoning plan? I'm not sure how this all works.
Well, physically, where is the house on Thoreau Street?
Well, I guess that I should have asked that question first. I don't know where it is.
It's right next to the yellow one on the corner. So you know the yellow one at the corner of Neshotic and Maine. Excuse me, on Thoreau and Maine.
Very close to Maine.
The yellow one with the white fence. It's next door to that. So it's really right
It's the
consistent.
house Ned Perry used to own.
Contiguous to the district, which is how
Terry house, okay.
in the new district.
Yeah, that's
And important to note is it's not part of the area that's being suggested for rezoning, which is the area on the opposite corner, in a sense, of the Thoreau district.
Okay. I think, Dennis, this came about for a separate reason. I can't say I'm particularly aware of the rezoning of Thoreau. I think it's not a bad reminder.
Starbucks?
What's that? That's the area that's being rezoned, right?
Yeah, down at the Starbucks end?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think
that's the area being discussed, and it's not.
It's probably a good reminder that one of us should probably attend the ZBA's meetings just to stay in touch with, I mean, this is, as we know, we tend to get siloed a little bit too much, and the left hand knows not what the right hand's doing.
So I don't want to belabor this meeting, but what are they rezoning that as?
Heavy industrial. I don't know. I haven't. Couldn't
I mean,
tell you.
are they making it residential again, so Starbucks has to leave? I don't know. What is it now?
Again, this is going to be speaking out of turn. I mean, I don't have the information in front of me. My understanding is that it has to do with expanding. You know what? I'll be happy to send you the documents. Or Heather, if you've got access to any of this online right now.
No.
If you guys want to talk, I will forward you the exact discussion, because I don't want to bastardize it here.
Okay.
I just think that the Historic Districts Commission should be concerned in any encroachment into residential areas or any changes that deal with the residential aspect of the community. So that's all.
Okay. Well, Dennis, can I ask a favor then? Would you mind kind of tracking this a little bit with Heather and reporting back to us in a couple weeks?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think Abby successfully avoided bedtime there, so.
I did. That's one of the things about Thursday night. It was an absolute disaster from what I can tell, but I did.
we got that sense a little bit. And Luis has finished his scotch, so I think we're ready to oh,
Can I just ask one question, Peter?
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have any update on Kate Chartner?
I don't. And Heather, I don't think you do either.
I don't.
She's asked for a medical leave of absence, but we haven't been able to find out.
Oh, no. Oh, that's too bad.
I was just concerned in that I have one more year after this, and then Abby would, excuse me, not Abby, Kate would become the full member. Mm-hmm. And I'm just concerned that we don't end up with two holes where a brand new person goes straight to a full member.
Is anybody else close to her? I'm happy to follow up, but if somebody else is close,
If you would, I've reached out, Jane, but it sounds like she's got a lot going on, and that's okay.
I'm sure she does. I just wonder if it's Robert versus Kate.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
That's
Oh,
what
yeah,
my
yeah,
understanding was. It was her husband.
And I think that's what it is. So,
Yeah.
and yeah. So,
Okay, I'm sorry to hear. And just technically, Dennis, you were appointed by by who? Do you?
I don't know. No one ever told me.
I wasn't clear about that, Jane. I think.
Well, there are two slots, right? Natural resources
Right.
and
select.
and that made mine is. I'm up in 2023, maybe. Does that sound?
I think it was select board, but I haven't gotten the appointment letter from the.
Yeah, I think it is select board, Heather. I think it
I'm
is.
pretty sure we did it. So.
Okay.
I think it's select board.
We would do it anyway. So that's not the.
I think it's select board.
Okay, the open position is natural resources, so we're still looking for another person.
Right, we're still looking for another.
Okay, yeah,
member.
thank you, Jane. That would be great to find out. We're all a little worried.
And I did just upload the Lincoln documents to the current meeting page under other
Right.
because they were too large to email. So they're on the website under other business.
Thank you.
Okay, terrific. All right. Well, thank you, folks. I guess I'd look for a motion to adjourn. I think.
All right, Peter, do we have, I saw draft minutes on the website for the 16th.
Don't.
Yeah, there were just one set of draft minutes from the 16th.
Correct. Do we want to do those?
I haven't looked at them
I
yet.
know Heather likes to get them done.
It's if you guys haven't looked at them, then we can.
I have, no objections, but if other people haven't, we can push them.
Well, Louise is our secretary. So.
I looked at them.
No, I'm not your secretary.
I'm
I'm your
I'm
vice
the
chair.
secretary.
She's the secretary.
Did you look at them, Nia?
I did, sir, and I just had, sorry, this is a really nerdy question. If, let's say Melinda refers to Abby, in the minutes, do they go in as Ms. Shumway agreed with Abby, or Ms. Shumway agreed with Ms.
Miss
Flanagan?
Flanagan.
It should be Miss Flanagan.
Okay, so I have 3 of those in the minutes, which are all obviously de minimis, but I can send those in, but otherwise they were fine.
Okay. Can we pick our modifiers? Like, can I be senior or something? Like, no, we can't do that.
Whatever floats your boat.
Okay.
It will be His Excellency.
His Majesty.
So that was it on the 16th.
All right. I would frankly defer to you, Nia. I trust your judgment as the secretary, so I'd be willing to vote those minutes in.
Okay, I move that we approve the minutes of July 16th as submitted with 3 minor edits from Ms. Glenn.
Second.
All right. All in favor? Let's just do a hand vote. I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Dennis is abstaining because that's okay.
Yes,
So
wasn't there.
We're approved. All right. Any other business, or may we adjourn, Heather? What do you think? Did the food
I have
get
no
there?
other business right now.
Your food got delivered.
If you want, I can give you Article 37 in specifics, but I can also just suggest, Dennis, that you go to the warrant and look at Article 37. I think you will understand that it's very much assigned to dealing with the traffic problem at the entrance and exit of Starbucks. So these are the necessary pieces in play to fix a problem that has been dangerous for quite a long time.
Good. I'll look at Article 37.
Okay.
So it doesn't look like it's anything but cleaning up a problem.
That has always been my understanding.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
The only last thing I'd say is if you did not see the roll call on Tuesday night, you've got to see the Rhode Island delegation's presentation of their votes at the Democratic National Convention. That's all I'm going to say. It's hilarious. Just Google it. It's been all in the news today.
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island's delegation.
We clearly need to get more creative with our roll call votes is what that taught me, is we're not using props enough here. That's really the
That was treasure, pure utter
In
treasure.
other words, in the land of Zoom, we have liberties available to us that we need to take advantage of.
Yes.
It was hilarious. It gave me faith in humanity, never mind democracy. All right, I'd look for a motion to
I
adjourn.
make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, nice to see you all. Thank you for your
Goodbye.
Thank you all. Cheerio.
Jane,
Cheerio.
thank you for coming. And Heather, thank you as always.
Bye, guys.
Good night, everyone.
Yeah.